Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Upper in corner, we have Clonepro starting as the pink Terran. Upper left hand corner, so few players choose pink. Upper left hand corner, we got Mevious starting as the orange Protoss. I would understand it if it was a by and large American audience, but in other countries, pink is associated with red and is still a very masculine color. So in Britain, France, around Europe, you'll see a lot of men wearing pink. Around the US, not very often, because we're completely at the mercy of our social construct and its rules of what we're allowed to do and not do, I guess. That's right, men. This is probably a male-dominated or whatever. Think about it. Feel bad. Grah. I say. Just kidding. Not sure people really care. Pylon dropped. I like a side story about a... Screw it. I'll say it. My grandmother... for reasons I won't delve into deeply, there wasn't an ultrasound, I guess, to tell my gender at birth, but the expectation was that I would be a girl because of a whole bunch of other stuff, and I don't think they ever bothered to check whatever. So everyone thought I was going to be a girl except my grandmother, who was assured I was going to be a boy. So she made me a blue blanket ahead of my birth, and she was right. Just knew somehow. Go figure. I loved that blue blanket as a kid. That was legitimately my security blanket. You saw that Charlie Brown Linus stuff? I was way too old and hanging around with that blanket. I love that thing. But definitely one of those like object transference things of appreciation for my grandmother and loved ones, I suppose. So maybe ultimately the lesson we learned here is that pink is great, and this early game rant was totally StarCraft related. There's a refinery going up, Clonepro going for a barracks. Does have that edge going out for initial scout. This is going to be on Radeon, by the way, larger macro-oriented map. Yeah, back before they, Liru out in Twitch chat land, the village appointed ultrasound grandma. Yeah, back in the day, before ultrasound was super available or you had time to do it or a lot of other aspects, x-rays weren't safe, so they had grandmas that were appointed in villages to just be like, this is the gender your kid's gonna be. They'd walk in, clap their hands, be like, it's gonna be this, walk back out. That was their job. They were paid in gingerbread. Random myths in Europe about eating children became whatever because people got upset about the kid they were gonna have. But they're good people. Don't let the fables fool you. Mevious skipping initial zealot, going for dragoon first. 2 marines in construction with this, with the factory. I think Clonepro, and also no scout as of yet, by the way. First scout here for Clonepro. Mevious still on his scouting pattern. I think with this actually, never mind, 3rd marine building for Clonepro. I think he could have cut it to 2 marines with the initial zealot skipped and gone for the rest of the build order from there to kind of shave something out, because I do believe that first vulture is out before that first dragoon's out. I guess you need to bunker down the line regardless with the more dragoon heavy opener, because it kind of forces you, because you get the zealots, or sorry, you get the vulture out on the map potentially. I feel like with the dragoon, so with the dragoon heavy army, presuming you get position on this and the vulture isn't just able to wander out on the map instantly, it looks like we are gonna go ahead and see the command center before bunker, by the way. You get the dragoons can just kind of make their way over in many instances, and effectively the vulture can oftentimes get contained before, can basically be pushed off, at which point you need a siege tank to really make the front. Mevious a little bit slow in getting his dragoons back out. Looks like the SCV going to slot back in to see whether there's a nexus dropping behind this. There in fact is a nexus, and also Mevious kind of with bad timing here, is the vulture also going to get out on the map, but he might be able to pick off a marine or 2. With the timing of this, actually, with the dragoons slotting underneath, that vulture might want to sneak back in a hurry. The SCV getting all the way into the main, by the way, with another dragoon constructing. This dragoon needs to hurry to the ramp and blockade that shortly. And wow, went all the way with these dragoons and really let them off the hook. But the 2 dragoons will be able, and it looks like the vulture was able to sneak in past that dragoon without even a shot. 1 probe down, and more probes are gonna get hit. So Mevious, I'm not sure if he's playing nervous, but the multitasking a little bit off. Clonepro needs to get and he's only attacking with a single dragoon. The 2nd dragoon also not attacking here on the front. So little micro errors here and little timing errors costing in the early game. At the same time, I don't know that the 2, I think the siege tank out, by the way. I don't know that in the SCV losing his life here on the front, but got a lot of scouting information in the space of this. Recognized Nexus, also 2-gate. I believe he also saw the robotics with the Vulture. I don't know if it's worth losing 3 Vulture mines for only 2 probe kills at this stage. I actually don't think the math works out. I think the positioning is better. And at this stage with the 2 Dragoons and a 5th Dragoon shortly going to be taking up residence behind this, yeah, Clonepro is going to be forced to go a little bit more siege tank heavy, and the Vultures are going to be less of a threat, which means theoretically Mevious, if he's on point, can go ahead and drop that 3rd Nexus without a lot of fear of a counter push, particularly if he's got the Observer out to confirm that it's not too fast. I mean, granted, it would be risky, and he's going to have to wait a little bit of time. Second gas getting grabbed very rapidly here for Clonepro, so let's see if he opts for upgrade Terran as he's locked into his main. Is going ahead and dropping that army right off the bat. A lot of Terran have been pushing more towards this, but anyway. Mevious is still sitting a little bit lower than Clonepro on the overall worker count. I don't think that was just the work of the Vulture, though. And also, I do the Twitch chat commenting something that is absolutely true, which is early worker damage means more than later worker damage, because of kind of the compound stacking effect, which is absolutely true. I still don't know that 2 workers is worth the loss of map control in the space of that. But anyway, 3 mines out on the front, 2 siege tanks. That's one for the excellent players to debate. Vulture's actually continuing to mine a little bit forward. The siege tanks being very brave. Sieging, going to try to push those Dragoons back so they can now get on the map. So Mevious is spacing where he might have... Nice little kind of move there for Clonepro, actually, because that opens up the front for the Vultures to now get on the map. I will say he's going to scout towards the 12, make his way towards the main. We don't have any turrets in place. Sneaking around, seeing if they're moving out of position. We do have that probe for Mevious going ahead and grabbing that 9 o'clock base as the 3rd. The Vulture should be able to swing around and scout that at the very least. Might be able to kill the probe, but they shouldn't be able to get the Nexus with the nearby Dragoons in sufficient numbers to draw down that direction. I would have loved to see Mevious actually leave these Dragoons in position, pull these Dragoons out, and let the reinforcing Dragoons blockade the front. Because now, yeah, now some mines back in the corner and the Observer. It's going to take time. I don't think any of this is going to result in base damage on the Nexus. It should still should just be shield at the end of this, but a little bit of micro expended. Barracks floating out, by the way, for Clonepro, going deep. Hasn't pushed in to see the 2nd gas in particular yet, or any Dragoon count, but going for... That's interesting. So has the barracks in this side position, but also is getting comps at. Really curious in what Mevious is up to. 3 additional factories have plopped down around the 7:30 minute mark to get them up by 8:15, which is about standard. So we got +1 5 factory. And Mevious has been playing a little bit light on the gateway count, and he didn't go robotics support bay to get Reavers out on the map. So there is a potential opportunity for Clonepro to push into this. Although I don't know, let's see if the comsats recognize it. And Mevious's supply is really close to Clonepro's right this second, dangerously close. The Dragoon's pushing back in. There's no Zealot or Zealot leg speed to support this. So we're gonna have a +1 weapons finish, a pretty healthy siege tank count for the 9-minute mark. 2 additional supporting it. I think Clonepro's long-term plan here, though, is just to grab that 3rd well before Mevious is grabbing his 4th. I'm kind of surprised he invested in the comsat, invested in the barracks floating to the forward space, but didn't utilize any of that for general scouting. Pylon's in the way, so Clonepro abandoning that position shortly. Still trying to find Mevius's army for general confirmation. Vultures scooting out are going to find the army slotted there at the 3 o'clock before scurrying back to the north. And that should leave some preemptive mines down to this edge. I actually would have loved if Mevious... We got a Dragoon out of position here, by the way. I would have loved if Mevious preemptively moved here and planted some Dragoons. I would actually like to see Protoss do that at large, now that I think about it. because Terran very often are going for this third rather than going for aggressive attacks. You see that command center being built. This is almost the reflexive take for Terran these days, is grab this base because this is so easy to defend. You just slot the 2 supply depots and then it's a very tough play for Protoss. But if you preemptively drop your Dragoons here in the 3 o'clock to interrupt any sort of movement that direction, Terran oftentimes are playing so, like, it's not unusual for them to work with 3 or 4. Wow, Mevious really blockading himself in here. Some Dragoons losing their lives to the mines. Down here we can see their desiccated corpses. A desiccated corpse at the very least. Clonepro ahead in supply, by the way, as he's landing this command center. Okay, we're moving our way towards 7 gateways. Usually 9 off 3 bases is what's more typical. And Clonepro moving in towards the 3 o'clock. Also not dropping a second armory, just gonna stick towards +1, replanting those mines. And the SCV's getting the bear. Yeah, this is what I'd love to see interrupted, actually. Like, just walk up here, create a little bit of chaos. Step into the corner and make Terran work for a little bit, maybe. Instead, it looks like Mevious is happy to just go ahead and grab a 4th. Is pocketing the probe right this second. There was a flurry of comsats from Clonepro. Sees the Stargate building at the natural. I do believe this is to go towards Arbiter Tech. Double Robo, though. Double Robo and a Stargate. I think that might have been an accident on Mevious's. I think that's an accident. That, or he's got some new meta build also chasing that army bottom right. I think recognizing his army superiority right this second. Zealots mid-map not cohesive. Is Clonepro going to repivot? Because he could repivot and start attacking towards Mevious right this second. Mevious has not dropped his 4th as of yet. Has the probe, it looks like he wants to ninja sneak at bottom left, but hasn't gotten a Zealot here bottom left. Or anything else to really push it across. Another comsat dropping, trying to spot that army. Yeah, he's pushing forward aggressively. This is as +1 armor is going to complete. By the way, Zealots have +1 weapons. Mevious has kind of a, let's back up for the look. So we've got this pocket of Zealots here to the north, this pocket of army, that pocket of army, that pocket of army, but none of it is cohesive. And Clonepro's army is completely gathered up here. It looks like it's coming in from the south. We already have mines in the way, although the Zealots getting very, very deep as some tanks run sieging. Some Dragoons are getting exposed to that right-hand flank side. And these siege tanks are a little bit away from those siege tanks, but this is going to be a disaster for Mevious, losing the majority, the bulk of his army. Clonepro has lost, he still has some vultures on the ground even, and hasn't lost much as far as raw troop count. And I think, so I'm not going to say that Mevious to GG right here, but I am going to say that was a game-changing engagement right there. And Clonepro is in a really, really strong position now. He can just set up shop right outside the natural expansion momentarily. Yeah, just get some more mines, and he can create a wedge and either attack towards the natural, dropping a turret just in case for detection as well. He can either plop, yeah, there's GG from Mevious. Would be difficult to push back out of it. Clonepro, yeah, I think that was really well played on Clonepro. I think there was a bit of hesitation momentarily. He had the comsats, recognized the size of his army comparatively, and then recognized he had an opportunity to end the game and took it. Took a little while to do so, but solid play in the recognition of position to do so and abandoning. Keep in mind, he's got just these 3 siege tanks here and more or less abandoning the front. So I don't want to say that was without risk, but just well calculated, well executed. Game 1 goes to Clonepro. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.